upper school children, or both? I think I read lower school, correct? Yep, and lower school, and lower school, lower school. Lower school? Okay. Lower, what grade?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Oh, our
Lower.
okay.
Upper.
Upper, yeah. And Isabella's mom, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great, that just kind of helps me. We talk about some of these programs here. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the English language program. And like Ms. Bear said, that this is a new program this year for students that English is their second language. The purpose of the program is to work with these students in developing their English proficiency in the areas of speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Students are eligible based on they're first identified through a home language questionnaire if English is their second language, and then they're tested on an English proficiency test. And then, so based on the results of the English proficiency test, they're entered into the program, or if they're at a point that they're close to English proficiency, then they don't need the services that we offer in the program. The program is mainly in the mainstream classroom, and students are eligible for services based on their English proficiency level. Most of our students do just receive classroom or services in the classroom with the classroom teacher using instructional strategies that help to increase their English proficiency. The other program that's new this year for 1st through 8th grade, but was piloted last year with math, they had a math club starting in about February after we took our practice MCA test, is our Excellence Club, and the Latin word for it is Collegium Excellentii, and sometimes Jason, I think, referred to it as the Targeted Services Program, just another name for it. The purpose is to individualize instruction for students that are below proficiency as identified by either the MCAs, the NWAs that the lower school takes, or based on teacher observation as well. If your child qualified for the services, then you received a letter in October stating that they would benefit from this program. The program runs after school from 3:15 to 4:45, and the students start out with snack and a little bit of homework time. The class sizes are small, the average is about 12. So the teacher gets a chance to really work with the students on their homework and the specific skills that they may be struggling with their homework. And then the teacher provides direct instruction to the students based on the needs of the class and the standards that they might be struggling with in either reading or math. And then they always kind of bring some sort of engaging, fun, educational game into the instruction as well. And then it's followed by some sort of study habits, test-taking skills, organizational work that the teacher provides kind of an instruction or activity on as well.
How many days a week is that?
Tuesdays and Thursdays. 2 days a week. And it started in October and it'll run through April.
I'm sorry, did you say April?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Michael talked about special education.
Let me get this. I said this in the first group too. I was the one that was trying to be smart and use technology to my favor.
Trying to be fancy.
Fancy, there you go. And it really didn't work out that well for me. It looks kind of cool, but it's not real functional. So what I want to do is just kind of give you a general. This video just kind of gives you. The one thing about special education is it's very much clear as mud. And it's very individualized. So what I want to do is this video gives you a little bit of background about the process a student may go through in one case to qualify for special education, and then we'll kind of go from there.
My son Max has lots of energy and no interest in reading. At school, it was becoming a problem. But my My sister's a teacher, and she wondered if Max might need some form of special education. And I said, no way. He's perfect. But she said he can be perfect and still have special needs. She said special education is an umbrella term for all sorts of challenges. Some issues are obvious, but some are harder to identify. I ignored her, but over time, my bright boy seemed to lose his bounce. He stopped wanting to go to school. He said he was stupid. It broke my heart. Turns out, we're not alone. Many kids have learning challenges, and there's a law called IDEA, which guarantees every child with a disability a free and appropriate public education. In fact, if a learning problem is suspected, public schools are legally required to have the child evaluated, but families may have to request it. If the child's eligible, teachers, specialists, and parents make an individualized education program, that's IEP in EduSpeak, or a 504 plan, legal documents which set forth what the school will do for the child. Sounds simple, right? Well, it rarely is. In Max's case, his first plan didn't have what he needed. Thanks to my sister, I learned that in order to get Max the right support, I might have to be, well, persistent. She helped me research Max's options. Most students getting special services stay in their ordinary classrooms, but get extra support like tutoring or extra time on tests. Some students end up in separate classrooms with specialized teachers, but spend part of the day with non-disabled peers. Finally, a few schools, most of them private, only serve students with specific needs like autism or dyslexia. I found the best path for my child, and you can too.
So, I mean, that's, it gives kind of one instance, and it's very generalized, but it kind of gives you a little background of some of the key terms of special education, like IDEA, fee appropriate public education, and that kind of stuff. But it's very specific to the student, is kind of the point. How special education looks here at Eagle Ridge, there is a special education director. Her name is Brittany Tomford. Brittany and I contract through an organization called ISIS, which stands for Innovative Special Education Services. So Brittany oversees a bunch of schools. And then charter schools have the option to contract coordinators that are site specific. I'm fortunate, the only site I have is Eagle Ridge. So I'm here my whole contract time, and usually all or parts of all 5 days of the week. So that's a very nice thing for me. So I get to work with the same people every day. You get to know the students that receive special education here, and that for a person in my position, that's kind of the gold mine in terms of being able to stay in one place. So I'm the on-site person, so I report to the special ed director, but I kind of oversee the day-to-day things here in regards to our case managers, our teachers, and then also with our paraprofessionals. So how our caseloads are broken up here is grade specific. So in the past, my understanding was that there's the special education teachers had any range of the kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. So what we did this year is we tried to break it down. It was by numbers was a main driver, but it just kind of naturally worked out that we broke it down, broke caseloads down to early elementary, mid elementary, late elementary, in the middle school, the transition time between middle school and high school, and then high school kids. So Laura Bolke's our case manager for kindergartners through second graders. Rochelle Skilling's our case manager for third and fourth graders. Zach Holm, who's new this year, is our case manager for 5, 6, 7. And then Jim Bayer, who's new this year, has that transition time, 8th, 9th graders. And John Delisandro has our 10th and 12th graders. So the kind of the rationale behind that was now they're going to keep kids on the caseloads for 2 to 3 years. 2, they get to become kind of the special ed expert of those grade levels. And then with that, we were able to assign our paraprofessionals based on our student needs, but also they can become more entrenched in those grade levels too with that age group of kids. So the idea was, to assign those paraprofessionals level 2 based on one, their association with kids, the things they like, but 2, also their background. So the one thing with our pairs that we're very fortunate to have with our special education pairs is I think we're up to 10 of them now. So our special education department between teachers and paras is about 15 professionals. I think at least half of our paras have a teaching degree. So that's something that is very beneficial for our special education students. So that's kind of a little idea how it looks here with the people. Our model is inclusion-based, meaning we want to try to keep students in their regular environment with their peers as much as we possibly can, and then support them in that environment a couple of ways. One is with that paraprofessional support, where a paraprofessional will go in and oversee a group of special education students, and that's dictated by need. Sometimes some students have, a little more intense help and more specific things that adult may work with that student on. And other times they're just kind of assimilate themselves as an educational assistant in the classroom, help every student out, and they're trying to keep their eyes on a group of kids. From there, we use our special education teachers, that they may also go in and teach a small group of that class. We're still really kind of working on that. Our high school guys have been able to do that for, I think John pushes into 2 classes now, and Jim does 1. So we're starting to get those guys out of their rooms and being able to co-teach a little bit and help with their students in the mainstream environment also. From there, our student on IEPs, they have service minutes. They have direct time that they need to spend with a special education teacher to meet their goals on their IEP, individual education program plan. So that's when they get that time, and then from there we work on academic support, supporting their needs in terms of social skill development, those sorts of things. The one nice thing about our case manager situation right now is our case managers see their students on their caseload on a daily basis. We're lucky to have that, to be honest. In some of the teaching jobs I've had, I had students on my caseload that I never saw. So it was really hard for me to kind of know what's going on in the day-to-day world, because it wasn't set up that way. So it's a very nice thing that we're able to do that way here with our teachers and our sped students. Special education is a federal law. It's the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. It's centered around individualized instruction and that free and appropriate public education. So when we look at services, how we're going to accommodate students in regular ed, those are the questions we ask. Is it meeting the student's needs? Are we providing the appropriate education in the appropriate place for that individual? It's a funding statute, so there's federal dollars that go to special education. It's meant to eliminate barriers to equal access, so that students have the same opportunity to be successful as a non-disabled peer. The thing with that is sometimes hard to rationalize is it doesn't necessarily ensure that kids are going to meet their potential. So even though we make accommodation and we try to individualize that education for the student, some of that motivating things, which unfortunately a lot of times comes back to the disability, are things we have to work through. So that's kind of the idea of IDEA. Section 504 is is a federal out of the American with Disabilities Act. That is not special education. It's an anti-discriminatory statute, which is meant solely to provide equal access to people with disabilities. It extends from school all the way to the places that you work. So it's an anti-discriminatory law. Again, it's meant to ensure appropriate education, public education. It also does not ensure that kids will maximize their potential. It's, like you said, it's meant to eliminate barriers due to a disability. So that's kind of a little bit of the difference between 504 and special education. The big thing is, we always talk about, like, what do you do if? Well, it really depends. Depends on the student, depends on the student's needs, depends on the opportunities that we have to support students, whether they're in need of a 504 plan or go through the process of becoming a special education student and working through an IEP. So that's kind of an overview. Hopefully it wasn't too much information. But what questions you guys have for us?
How do we know, the case manager?
Based on the grade level of the student.
Okay, oh, I see, okay, okay.
So, and that's generally how we work through our process, the referral process. If there's a number of ways where a student can get on the radar, so to speak, for intervention and support. One way is through, identifying through the targeted services and some of the student service things that we're already doing. A second way is through a parent concern. A third way is through a teacher concern, under a number of different things. From a little guy that can't sit still in his classroom is up and bounce off the walls versus an older student who maybe has a really hard time staying awake and focusing. And then we ask those teachers to work through classroom level interventions first, trying some things on their own, and then it goes to what's called the SAT team, student assistance team, where we may try some more deliberate or intensive intervention, and then at that point we make determination if we should evaluate for special education and determine if that student has a disability.
Has there been any thought of moving the paras and caseworkers or managers with those grade levels? As they grow?
Rotating them? Well,
To a new person?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point. Those are conversations that are going to happen. Some of the rationale behind the decisions where teachers were put, one was based on their preference and the experience they have with those age groups of students too. So we haven't had to get to that point yet because it's the first year we've done it. So we're really kind of trying to manage and evaluate that model, and also it's important for the teachers too. If they want to stay, what's more important to them, to stay with the grade level that they're most comfortable teaching, that they've built some rapport with those teachers that they work with, or to follow the students through. I've seen it done both ways. Yeah.
but you did say that they meet with them every day?
They see them
Or
every
they
day.
have some kind of contact, or?
Yeah. As far as I'm
Does
aware.
the child know who they're?
It should, yes.
Have you gotten anywhere with the seat council for this year? Is there anybody working on that?
Say that again.
The seat council, that's supposed to include
Yeah.
parents and.
Not to this point where it's come up,
Yeah,
and you're not the first person to ask.
I'm sure.
Any more questions?
Well, we are just a couple minutes early, and if you're interested in going to your right, there are a number of board members that are sitting there without anyone to visit with, and they would love to give you some board updates and to chat with you before your next session starts. Your next session, I believe, is just right across from us, to the left, so, on classical education. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.